Spring 1933, Moscow and Leningrad saw more than 73,000 of these undocumented citizens arrested, then transferred to special villages in Siberia or Kazakhstan.
Маньяк какой-то придумал, понимаете, на необжитое место, на север, послать 1 миллион людей. Это вообще уму непостижимо, да?
Les policiers devaient remplir des quotas donc d'arrestation.
1 миллион на Римский край, 1 миллион вот Северный Казахстан.
Мысль-то была, когда ссылали, и, наверное, когда на север ссылали, туда, на остров смерти, все-таки, наверное, может, думали, хотя и знали, что там люди погибнут, но, может, думали, они там раскорчуют тайгу, они там, значит, будут строить города, все. Какие города, какие там поля, какие, ой, Господи.
Et c'est ce qui va se passer dans l'épisode particulier de Nazino, qui a été la déportation de 6000 éléments dits socialement nuisibles dans le cadre d'un nettoyage de Moscou, d'ailleurs, à une occasion très particulière. Vous savez qu'en Russie, on célèbre la fête du travail le 1er mai. Fin avril, ordre a été donné à la police de faire un peu de zèle pour nettoyer la ville de Moscou de ces éléments indésirables.
On May the 1st, 1933, thousands more undesirables were sent to the Tomsk transit camp for special settlers in Siberia. From there, they would be transferred to the island of Nazino, located 800 kilometers to the north. But who were these men and women? How did they end up on this lost island? My name is Ivan Portman. A few months ago, an historian friend of mine called the Nazino affair to my attention. My own grandfather had been arrested in Moscow in May 1933 before being deported to Siberia. He never came back. I have always wanted to know what happened. Perhaps he ended up on Nazino or elsewhere. That's why I find myself in Russia, on the trail of the Nazino prisoners. I decided to make for the center of Moscow and the Sakharov Museum. It is home to a vast collection of archives devoted to the Gulag and political repression in the Soviet Union. I find Nikita Petrov, an expert on the Soviet secret services. He's one of the directors of the Russian NGO Memorial, which deals with questions relating to political repression during the era of the Soviet Union. Since the fall of communism and the opening of the Soviet archives, it has been possible to trace the story of this tragic episode. It is because a young party instructor, Vasily Velitchko, took the initiative of conducting his own inquiry into the circumstances in which thousands of deportees had perished, even daring to write to Stalin himself, that this story reached our ears.
И по-настоящему о Назине вот заговорили, и как-то и документы выявили, это уже вот в конце 80-х, начале 90-х годов.
Я не знаю, его командировали или нет, некий оперуполномоченный Величко.
Я произвел собственное расследование ситуации, возникшей в трудовых поселках Александровского района. Я посетил не только остров Назинский, но и 5 других трудовых поселений, расположенных по течению Назина. Я решил написать не просто статью для местной газеты, а подробный отчет, который отправил своему начальству и самому Сталину. Я подробно описал, что произошло на острове с момента прибытия депортированных до их срочной эвакуации. Я проанализировал события, которые привели к этой ситуации.
As the administration could no longer hide its blunders, a commission of inquiry was launched in September 1933. Its purpose was to verify the truth of the information sent by Comrade Velitchko and the validity of the declarations of hundreds of survivors who claimed they had been wrongly deported. It is possible, with the aid of the Commission documents, to reconstruct in detail the spiral of events leading up to this terrible deportation cum abandonment. And but for the initiative of this junior party manager, there would doubtless have been no trace of this chilling tale. I decided to travel to Tomsk, which is in the heart of Siberia, more than 4,000 kilometers from Moscow. In Tomsk, I go to the Museum of the History of Soviet Political Repression, located in former secret police barracks that also served as a prison from 1923 to 1944. The museum itself possesses a large collection of archives. But who were these individuals described as socially harmful? In what circumstances were they arrested, then sent to Tomsk, only to end up on Nazino? I meet Vasily Kanovich, director of the museum, who has recovered and studied a great many documents about Nazino and collated them in a book entitled The Tragedy of Nazino.
Рядовые исполнители, они отчитывались за цифры, за планы, и поэтому оказались в числе тех 6,5 тысяч человек самые разные люди.
A first group of deportees was in fact made up of prisoners arrested and sentenced in the preceding months to between 1 and 5 years detention in camps. Rather than hardened criminals, as the authorities had dubbed them, these were petty delinquents, most of them repeat offenders, convicted of theft, trafficking, etc. Boris Trenin is the co-author of The Tragedy of Nazino. He knows the subject intimately.
Потом надо было расчистить места заключения. Переполнены они были, тюрьмы были переполнены, лагеря были переполнены, и в том числе так называемым рецидивом.
В числе высланных в Нарымский край вот в этой партии оказалась и довольно значительная категория людей, уголовников. Уголовники, рецидивисты, которых тоже отправили на перевоспитание трудом.
A second group, the largest, was made up of persons who had no passport. Beggars, tramps, and other individuals, described as outdated elements who were socially harmful.
Поэтому туда попадали и действительно те, кто были бродяги, и те, кто сбежали с мест поселения. В основном, сказать, это были, конечно, раскулаченные крестьяне, которые с мест поселения сбежали, пытались устроиться на производство, на работы в крупных городах по разным фиктивным документам или вообще без документов. Вот они в первую очередь и стали, конечно, жертвой вот этих облав и высылки в отдаленные районы страны, в частности, на Нарымский край.
But the police had without hesitation arrested and deported those whose only fault was to have left their papers at home, or people who were simply passing through Moscow and Leningrad. Vladimir Novozilov, Muscovite, driver for the compressor works, awarded bonuses 3 times. Wife and child duly registered in Moscow. He was about to take his wife to the cinema after work. While she was getting ready, he went down into the street to buy some cigarettes, rounded up and deported. Nikolai Voikin, member of the Communist Youth since 1929, worker at Le Tisserand Rouge factory, bureau member of his workshop's party cell, thrice commended, arrested in the street on his way to a football match. He had left his passport at home. Igor Maslov, party member, worked at the Moscow gasworks. He had invited an engineer friend and his brother-in-law round to his house for a drink. They all went out to buy some hors d'oeuvres and were arrested by a police patrol at the food store. They hadn't taken their passports with them. Deported. The engineer and the brother-in-law died on Nazino. Maslov survived.
Ехали по своим делам. Просто не было... Вот я сейчас выйду на улицу, меня тоже вот так, если бы все происходило, я уж не беру с собой паспорт. Ну и...
Деклассированных оказались вполне советские граждане, имевшие документы, приезжавшие по различным делам в Москву в командировку. Но так как дана была команда органам милиции и НКВД, в общем-то, не считаться и не разбираться, а выполнять определенные планы.
Допустим, кто-то там где-то в городе был, приехал в гости там и арестовать его, и увезти. Кто-то там еще какие-то покупки делал в магазине и тоже без документов там оказался.
Sergei Voromin, railway mechanic, employed at the 13th section of the Leningrad-Moscow Railway, arrested at Moscow station just as he was passing through the capital, returning home from his annual vacation, with his travel warrant properly stamped.
Но были неповинные люди. Там какая-то девочка, по-моему, 13 или 14 лет, вот в списках значится у Величко там. Просто вышла, по-моему, с матерью ехала в поезде, она послала ее на вокзале что-то купить. И эту девчонку туда, и...
Rosa Rakometsiova, 12 years old, did not speak Russian, passing through Moscow. Her mother left her alone at the station while she tried to buy some bread. The little girl was arrested by the police as a young vagrant and deported, alone. Galina Gorbunova, wife of a naval reserve commander of the cruiser Aurora, arrested while transiting through a Moscow station on her way home to Leningrad. She was pregnant. She had all her papers with her and her train ticket for Leningrad. Gave birth on the island of Nazino.